Hey everyone, it's me, Lauren Cadillac with Cadillac Law, and I am here today to talk to you about estate planning. It actually happens to be one of my favorite topics. So, on our series, Don't Be Scared, Be Prepared, this is our second video, and in this one we are going to talk about estate planning. And I know how morbid it is to talk about the importance of estate planning while people are getting really sick and even potentially passing away. I get it, but it does bring attention to how important estate planning is. So we talked in our first video about power of attorney. I consider power of attorney an important part of any estate plan because as you grow older, that's part of your estate. Again, we talked about it would be $6,000 for guardianship. That's going to come out of your pocket eventually, where you could just get power of attorney at $300 for both, and that comes out of your pocket, but then there's no $6,000 down the line. The same goes for estate planning. You do estate planning to avoid potentially having to go to court. Now, that's not to say that if you have a will or whatnot, you're not going to have to go, there's not going to be a probate after you pass away. That is to say that the goal is to cut down the expenses when you pass and to cut down the chance of conflict after you pass away. So, everyone has heard of a will, and we call when you pass away with a will dying testate. And you are a testator when you have the will. And in your will, you give things to people. So if I will my house to Liberty, the house becomes Liberty's when I die. After, of course, the will is probated and a judge determines that it's valid. But the house becomes hers, but then it's just hers to do whatever she wants with. So I get a lot of people like, well, Lauren, I want to give my house to my daughter, but I want her to keep it for her kids and so on and so forth. A will is not that mechanism. In order to do that, in order to control people from the grave, you need a trust. And I really, really love trust, and we'll get into why, but a will just gifts the property. So you can list things in will like your ring, your car, pretty much anything you own. And if it's in the will and the will is determined to be valid, and in Texas, there are some really high standards for signature and whatnot, which is why we have people come into our office for signing, which I know is a little weird in these times, but we're going to figure out a way. And the will, once you pass away, is then either probated or you do something called a muniment of title, and you're looking at least $1,500 legal fees after you pass away. Now, in contrast to that, you can use a trust. You can put your homestead in a trust. You can put checking accounts into a trust. Excuse me. You can put your ring into a trust. You can buy rental properties and put them in a trust. You can put a business in a trust. You can put really anything you want to in a trust. And the trust will avoid probate because the trust will distribute the way the trust reads. And the trustee will be required to distribute the trust the way the trust says that the trustee needs to distribute the trust. So I prefer trust because most people I've found are in like a mixed family type situation, and that helps protect kids from prior marriages and kids from current marriages and interests and so on and so forth. Also, if you're a business person, particularly if you're someone who's going to collect rents or do something like that, and that needs to continue even though you yourself are unable to do that work, we can continue that with the trust. And it's a little more difficult to continue without that mechanism in place. And so that's why I do suggest a trust over a will. Also, trust about $2,250, and you pretty much avoid probate altogether. We do need to take a quick pause. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. My sidekick did not want to get on the camera, but definitely needed to ask me something. So I do prefer trusts. However, I do see a need for both wills and trusts at sometimes, depending on what your assets are and what your family situation are. Now, I like to talk with people about these type of things on a case-by-case basis, which makes this video not as great because we can't really sit and interact together. But I will let you know that I do phone consultations, so you can call my office at 972-845-1200, and that is where you can set up an appointment, and we can talk about these things, and I can decide and help you decide what is best for you and your family. Personally, I use a trust. I like trusts. rich people use trust. So here's my favorite trust story before I let you go. I had this friend, I was in my 20s, this is a few minutes ago. I know, hard to believe that I'm out of my 20s. And he was a hairdresser, so I'm pretty sure he was gay. And his grandma obviously knew that, because in the trust that she created for him, he had to be legally married in order to get the money. And so he didn't get the money while I knew him, but I only thought about when gay marriage became legal, I thought about how grandma was probably rolling in her grave, because now he could get married legally and he could get the money. She should have said married to a woman, but she didn't. So trust you can use to control people from the grave. You say things like, if you ever wear mustard yellow, you don't get any of my money. Or if you don't go to UT and maintain a 2.0, or, whatever really it is you want to do to control people, you can do that with a trust. And again, it avoids probate. So thank you for joining us for our very brief video today, and I hope you're enjoying my series of Don't Be Scared, Be Prepared. Visit my website at cadillaclaw.net, CADILACLAW.net, and give us a call at 972-845-1200. Signing out.